Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want.
Hey guys, Coach Dan here. I'm a exercise and sports science degree holder. I'm a personal trainer and coach of over 10 years, and I've been training in gyms in 20 plus years. And today I'm going to go through my second push workout of the week. I'm going to go everything that I do, why I do it, and give you tips along the way that I've picked up for myself. So the goal for me is for you to be able to then use these tips and these ideas to apply to your own training, not necessarily to copy and paste what I do. So as they say, give a man some muscle and he has it for a day. Teach him to muscle and he has it for life. So let's get into it. So we're going to start things off with the machine lateral raise. This brand is called the MedX machine lateral raise. A really, really nice lateral raise machine. It's not often that you see one like this. The lateral raises machines these days normally have little pads or rollers like this, and we go directly out to the side. For this particular one, it goes slightly out there at an angle, and that might be a good thing because we're kind of going out slightly in front of our body. So if you look at me in this position here, it's kind of in that kind of position there, which they call the scapular plane. And the biomechanistic people out there are suggesting that that might be the best plane to kind of train the lateral delt in. So when you do dumbbell lateral raises, you can easily just angle them out there in front. With those machines, they kind of are the way they are. You can't really vary them. But this one is angled out on that direction, so it's really effective. So we'll tuck in here like this, elbow against the pad, driving out there to the side, control the way down, driving out. So the tip for this one here is to think about the delt. The delt, or the lateral delt, is a muscle that's inserting into the deltoid tuberosity and into the acromion in the side part of your shoulder. And all it's essentially doing is pulling that point to that point. So instead of thinking, push this out, you're more thinking pull your arm in this kind of position like that to best train the lateral delt. All right, that is us. Let's get into the first exercise. We're going 5 sets here. We are starting with the lateral delt exercise, as this is a push workout, so I've got some pressing to come and compound movements, but we're starting with this because I am prioritizing the delts as a priority muscle group for this program. So we start here before we move into our presses and whatnot. All right, let's build it up. All right, machine lateral raise done. Very nice, that MedX machine lateral raise. Got the delts fired up. Now we head to our first chest movement. So as I mentioned, the priority for this particular program, delts is part of it, back's part of it, and arms is part of it. Chest still working, but again, it's not the main priority. So we start with that, put as much energy and effort as we can to this. If there is an effect of that on this, so be it. While that's the priority, it gets the first bit of attention. So what we've got here is an incline cambered bar bench press. So the cambered bar, firstly, is this bar with the dint in it, which has this gap. So whereas a straight bar would normally come across here, it has this dint. And what that's going to allow, when I put my hands here, it's going to allow a larger range of motion, so a deeper stretch. And that stretch appears to have value for muscle growth, so training muscles in the lengthened position, whereas the bar would just come and tap your chest. That's number one. So these aren't everywhere. I actually brought this to this gym to use, so they let me bring it here and leave it here so I could use it when my sessions are here. But yeah, you could think about doing some good chest press machines will allow for that deep stretch and range of motion. Dumbbells allow you to get that deep stretch. But yeah, also on the flip side to that, some people don't have the mobility to necessarily go into this deep position, so a straight bar might do them. That's number one. Number two, we've got an incline. So the incline, the purpose of the incline is to kind of take it and focus more towards the upper chest. So as you incline further and further, if you're bringing a weight or a bar down directly against gravity, it will start to kind of move further and further up your chest. And therefore, the idea is that it's working higher parts of your chest. Some recent research suggests that it's not necessarily better for working your upper chest, but more so it is not allowing you to use your lower chest and the rest of your chest as much, which suits my preference because I'm trying to work on my upper chest. So even if it's not working the whole chest overall, maybe it's not as efficient because we're not getting as much into it because we're not using like the lower chest and stuff like that, it still suits my preference, which is towards the upper pec. So how to do it is very straightforward. It's just like doing any other kind of bench press or chest press, but we take our hands outside the level of this dint, comes down, touches pretty high up on the chest, and press. So, a pro tip for this and other pressing movements, if you think about the job of your pec is essentially to pull your arm into different directions in here. So the lower pec will kind of pull it down towards the rib cage or abdominal area like such. The sternal or the sternum part of your pec will pull it directly across, and the clavicle part or clavicular part kind of pulls it up towards that clavicle. So when we think about doing movements that are targeted at our chest, instead of just thinking about pushing weights up, we're thinking about pulling this part of your arm in, and the weight just comes up as a result of that. So we can really focus on the chest. So for me, as I kind of come down to the bottom, instead of just pushing this weight up, I'm pulling my arm across into that position to best use our chest. All right, let's go to set one. We build up to a heavy set, then we have some back off sets to follow up after that. All right, a quick note on technique before we move on to our next chest pressing exercise. So I talk about technique a lot. Technique is not just from the perspective of making something as effective as possible and safe and all that kind of stuff, but it also lets us know if we're making progress. So one of the most common things you might see is a squat. As an example, people starting off with a full range squat with a particular weight, and then they progress in weight and then the range changes, so they go shorter or shallower or however you want to say it. Now, will that lead to less progress? I can't guarantee that, but what it does say to us is that you can't be certain that you're progressing because you're changing the movement, you're doing less work. So if we standardize a technique, similar tempo, similar hand position, similar bench setup, similar everything, we know when we add weight, we are getting better. So that's the reason, well, that's one of the reasons that I'm so anal, you could say, about technique, is because it does show us that we are getting better or not, as well as making it as effective as possible, making it as safe as possible. All right, next up we go to a chest press, a plate loaded variation. Now I normally talk smack about a movement like this because of the resistance. So again, this is a plate loaded machine, so it's working on this hinge. Now what happens on a machine like this is it actually gets harder through the range of motion, which I would normally go, that might not be the most effective way to do things. However, I have come from something that is really hard in the stretch position, and this isn't as hard in the stretch position, but I had a little play around with it last week, felt very joint friendly, felt very smooth, felt very effective, and again, potentially the fact that it is easier in the stretch position means we can do more work in the stretch position and just not finish locking out later on. So what I might consider doing on a movement like this is when I can no longer finish the full range because it gets difficult as you go, I might kind of get in this half range and keep pushing past, which we don't know. We can't be sure that, you know, that won't be more effective or less effective than making it really hard in the stretch position. Yeah, so I am leaning towards, in training in general, training muscles through lengthened positions. But yeah, making them hard in that lengthened position easier, that's very, very up for debate. And I have a reason for doing this. It feels effective to me. My joints feel good doing it. I've already done a really tough movement in the stretch position. So with all that said, that's a win in my books. Okay, so I'm going to bring my chest pad all the way forward. So although I mentioned for that incline bench press that my preference is towards incline and upper pec movements, this is somewhat of a horizontal press, but there is a slight arc towards it. So again, same cues apply at the back. We want to focus on pulling the arm towards the sternum or towards the upper arm because that's the job of the pec. So we're pulling this in here like this, control, a couple of seconds, or just at least under control on the way back, a general tap or pause here, and then push that arm towards one another again. And yeah, I'll build up with this one for as long as I can. Yeah, like I said, it's not that hard in the stretch position, but it feels good, it feels effective. I've done an exercise that is hard in the stretch position, so I'm up for using this one for a period of time, getting better, and hopefully it can lead to some muscle growth. All right, let's get it. Okay, chest work done. So currently only doing 2 chest exercises. Now there'd be some people out there that would suggest that that might be underdoing it, like maybe you need more exercise selection, but at the moment, as previously mentioned, it's not a priority for me. So I have recently gone from 3 exercises to 2, and I've essentially taken out like a fly variation I do on both of my push days, and potentially that will lead to some worse outcomes than if I had it in there, but I'm doing 3 sets of both of those pressing movements to equal 6 total sets for this workout, and I was doing 3 exercises with 2 sets each. So it's the same volume, but I've taken out an isolation movement or exercise variation. So we shall see if that leads to less progress for the chest, but again, it's not the priority at the moment. So we'll see. Less exercise selection means it opens up more time for some of the other stuff that I'm prioritizing, and you know, you only have a certain amount of time and energy and all this kind of stuff to train, so you have to put it where the priority is, right? You can't always do all things at once. Sometimes it's about choosing the most important and trying to keep the others at least a maintenance level or maybe a little bit of progress. And yeah, that's just the way it is sometimes. Sometimes you can do all things at once if all things are in check. If you're someone who didn't have to work, low stress levels, everything was good, you can make progress across the board. If you're new to training, you can make progress across the board. But in some circumstance, you have to kind of sometimes choose a priority. It'll be like if you were a professional athlete and you wanted to play all the sports, you were good at both, football and basketball. You're probably not going to be able to be like the best at both. Eventually you have to choose. You could probably be very good at both, but the best you possibly can be, you might have to put all your focus on the priority. Anyway, that aside, we move into dumbbell shoulder press. Only 2 sets here. If we think about those pressing movements, they already get the anterior delt involved, which is what we're kind of working on here. So we don't need to kind of go crazy on them. Yeah, they're usually not too underdeveloped if someone is doing pressing and stuff like that. But I just like 2 sets just to make sure they are the limiting factor in this exercise, right? So dumbbell shoulder press, nice and simple, straightforward exercise, very customizable as far as angle, positioning your hands, all these kind of things, so you can find what suits well. Goes up on a lap, you'll kick one up, kick the other up, and then we're ready to go. Down, control, I like to gently tap the shoulder, press. So if the job of our pec is to pull our arm in towards different parts on our torso, like the clavicle for the upper pec, the sternum for the sternal pec, and down towards the rib cage or for the costal pec. The anterior delt is in the side of the deltoid tuberosity, and then the outer third of the clavicle. So pec or pectoralis major, inner third of the clavicle, deltoid, outer third of the clavicle. So they're pretty close, and they'll contribute on both, but you think, yeah, so if pec is kind of coming here under here, as we start to go further and further up with our arm, it's starting to become anterior delt. And then when we shoulder press, you're thinking, pull that towards the head, and the chest is still going to work. Like you can even feel a bit of tension there, but this is where we want to put it, right? So if I were to take myself all the way back, it would just become a chest press or a bench press variation. But I'm thinking arm in towards the head, okay, anywhere in the head, maybe all the way up until the back of the head. So if we change the angle, but then if we're kind of going down here like this, then it becomes upper pec and whatnot. All right, enough rambling on. Let's hit set 1. All right, tricep isolation time. Easy bar skull crusher. Now, every time I go away from this exercise, do some variations for whatever reason, doesn't feel as effective for a period of time or whatever it might be. Every time I come back, this always drills me. Really get like plenty of soreness in the triceps. Not that you have to chase after soreness, but it would probably indicate it's very effective. For all the other exercises we've got out there, the machines, the fancy stuff, this always does a really good job for me. So I've got to remember that, and I've noted that down in my notes to kind of like never sleep on the easy bar skull crusher, because for me, it's probably, I don't know, the GOAT. The setup's pretty easy, like all this kind of stuff. It's definitely worth rotating in and out. And yeah, I've got a stored PB, so I know what it's been. It's a free weight movement, so when I go to another gym, I've got it ready to go. So I should just make sure it's always there or thereabouts in the program. And if it goes out for a period of time for any reason, just remember to bring it back in at some stage, because it's, yeah, I don't know, the soreness I get here, I don't think I get from any other tricep exercise. Yeah, so the GOAT, old faithful, if you will. So as far as the tricep goes, the tricep is a three-portion muscle, as the name suggests, tricep. And one of the portions of the tricep passes both the elbow and passes the shoulder and attaches into your scapula, which means that when we do push downs like this, I might fully flex the elbow and stretch out the tricep significantly, or the long head of the tricep significantly, but I'm not going to fully stretch it out until I start to raise it up and get it away from the scapula, essentially. So that is going to be more stretched. So skull crusher variations, overhead variations have some value aside from just push downs, probably. And there is some direct research comparing doing a tricep push down like this with one arm and an overhead with the other arm. So in the study, one arm did like this, one arm did like this, and the overhead arm won out on all heads of the tricep. So that's pretty interesting. So it doesn't mean don't do this. I would just recommend, it would be a recommendation of mine to at least in some capacity do tricep extensions where the arms come up and the shoulder flexes to stretch the long head of the tricep out. But you do you. If you have any significant reason not to do it, then that's your call. But yeah, it's, for me, this is good. Overhead extensions are good. Dumbbell skull crushers, incline skull crushers, all of these variations. So anyway, later on I'm going to do a push down as well. So it doesn't mean you can't combine as well. So, you know, if you got your favorites, they can still be there or thereabouts. So skull crusher, we got a bench. We got I'm using an easy bar. Just feels comfortable for me, but a straight bar, dumbbells, they're all appropriate. I take the narrow kink on the easy bar, lay back with it. Now there is a couple of different technique options you could do. So some people I've seen do it to their chin. Some people do it to their forehead. For me personally, I do it and I attach the bench directly above my head. Now for me, that's always felt most effective. I've done variations in here, didn't feel great on my elbows. To the head, I assume is good. Theoretically, again, going above your head makes sense because we're probably getting that larger stretch in the long head of the tricep because the shoulder will be probably the most flexed, right? Big elbow flexion, control the way down, power up. And that's the easy bar skull crusher. Triceps, want to get big triceps. So I'm going to do 5 sets here. And we also got some extra volume with the push downs later in a superset. So smashing the triceps for today because we have a long break until we do anything with them again, essentially. All right, let's get our weight and let's get going.
Sounds good. That's good.
All right, we capped the workout off with a little bit extra tricep volume and a little bit extra lateral delt volume. Those are two of my priorities at the moment. So we're finishing off the workout with a superset that involves a tricep pushdown and a dumbbell lateral raise. So this is good because it's time efficient. Like I said, I might have been reduced the amount of exercise selection I had for my chest. Still the same volume, but therefore you just don't have to move from exercise to exercise. This also is time efficient because I've got a tricep pushdown, works the triceps obviously. A dumbbell lateral raise works them the lateral delt. So essentially we can go back and forth without them affecting each other too much, and makes sense that your triceps don't affect your lateral delts and vice versa. So we can get a good amount of work in a shorter period of time. If I were to do this single set, we do this, rest 1 to 2 minutes, do this, rest 1 to 2 minutes. Here I'm just gonna go this, cruise over here, do this, and then basically drop my reps down and come back and start all over again, which will give me a similar rest break between muscle groups. It just feels hard because you're moving the whole time. So maybe a little bit more out of breath, a little bit hotter, a little bit more sweaty, but again, we get more work in and it can be very effective. It's similarly as effective as single set and time efficient. So the other thing that I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna drop the weight as we go. So not only is it a superset, but it's gonna be a drop set as well, just because, I don't know, yeah, just saving time. So we'll reduce the weight as we go to keep the reps up and stuff like that. So a standard tricep pushdown, I'm going with the straight bar. We'll go overhand, bring it down such that your elbows are right by your side, lots of elbow flexion, extend the elbow, bend the elbow, extend the elbow. So if we did the skull crusher before, we kind of had that stretch through the long head of the tricep. We're not getting that here, but again, we're still working the tricep. It's another variation. It's still good as long as you try hard enough and you do enough work. Then I've got my dumbbells set out. So a little thing that I use is grips. Just don't want to think about my grip. Now there's going to be someone who'll comment somewhere along the lines and tell me to be a man, don't be a a wussy, but for me, it just helps me feel my delts and not have to pay attention to them as I do the exercise. So I'll strap in, dumbbells by the side for me, coming out on that scapular plane, which just means slightly in front of the body. So we're here, slightly in front, and that feels effective to me. So this will roll like such. Here, move over here, about 10 seconds or so, get these on, strap into this, do a set there, probably return those dumbbells, jot my reps down, come back to here with a reduced load, and so on and so forth for 3 sets each. So just ticking a little bit extra volume off, and this is the workout to do it because I have a long break before I have to train the triceps specifically, and the delts get a decent break here as well. So, all right, let's get our weights built up and let's get going. All right, that's a wrap on the workout, guys. A nice push workout. That one is business as usual. So really liked all that. So as mentioned a couple of times today, more recently, I've kind of identified some of the points that I want to work on, or priorities. Number 1, side delts. Number 2, back in general. And number 3, arms. So what I've done in this program for the last 3 weeks or so is added some volume. So what I've done is I've added a little bit of volume, 10 to 20%, depending on the muscle group and how they recover. And now it's going to be play the experiment game. So you add the volume, and not always is more volume better, but you kind of see, like, can the muscle recover? Does it lead to better progress? So you add muscle to the triceps, as today's an example, and the progress becomes better. That's a good sign. Or if you can't recover, that's a bad sign. So it's kind of a bit of an experiment. So we add some volume, we check in to see if it's working well for us as far as recovery and that kind of stuff goes. And then we either, take that volume back away. Sometimes you can add more if it's a big priority, if the muscle can really recover and it's really reacting well. And then you kind of find the sweet spot to how much volume you can recover from and leads to good progress. But it's an experiment, and that's why keeping notes and stuff like that in a program is really worthwhile. So biceps, lateral delts, triceps and back have been given a little bit extra, and now we're seeing if they recover okay. So something that I have noticed is biceps doesn't recover as well, but triceps can get away with a little bit more, and same as side delts, and back is also pretty good and can get away with adding that extra volume pretty well. As far as where I'm up to, so we're week 3 of a fat loss phase. This is workout 4. It's all going pretty well. I returned from vacation 3-ish weeks ago and came back at say 81.1 kgs, and now we're in the 79.6. So trying to take it steady to make sure we hold on to performance and hold on to strength. So all going well. Got some fresh new Crocs. Check out that color. That's called Pond. Really good. On brand, my wife says, and I've got to be on brand, she says. So got to listen to the boss. And that'll be us for today. Coming up, either tomorrow or the next day, might have a pretty cool session planned at a gym. It's a bit of a trek for me, but I've kind of seen that they have some equipment and stuff that I'd like to try, and I'm traveling, so I'll see if we can get some filming there. I'm really excited for that. It's when you kind of go to new places, I do often look for new gyms, and that's probably not absolutely necessary. And the equipment that's better is, again, it's probably not going to lead to better progress, but it's nice to try out. It feels cool. It's fun for me. So we'll do that potentially over the next 2 days. If they're kind of happy with me to film in there, we'll get some action of that. So that'll be a lower body day tomorrow and a pull day the day after. See if we can do them both there. And that's that. As always, guys, if you're liking the content, really appreciate if you hit the little subscribe up here. We've got videos so you can check out other muscle groups here, little tips and shorts on how to do technique and stuff like that. And as always, it's about progress over perfection. Coach Dan, signing off.